Hello, I'm John with Roadkill Incorporated, and today we have a different kind of pickup. It is a 700-pound black cube wrapped in plastic. I've always wanted one of these. It's pretty cool. It's like 4 feet tall. Actually, no, it's not that. This is a pickup from a different recycler that I've never dealt with. They had a location in Canada. And this is scientific equipment like oscillators and meters and I don't know, all kinds of other stuff like that. I have a couple friends who are engineers and they saw the list and really thought some of this sounded interesting. I wouldn't really know what to do with it, although it is cool looking. It's lots of stainless steel with knobs and screens and stuff like that. So aesthetically it appeals to me, although I wouldn't have a clue how to use any of it. So anyway, like I said, different kind of pickup. I will be breaking this thing down and we'll see what we have. All right, first step of unpacking is done. It's all on the floor of the garage. Some big chunky stuff, definitely, some really heavy ones. Looks like I'll definitely have some quality bubble wrap when all of this is done. That's never a bad byproduct of doing a pickup. It's funny, this brand for this particular item is called Human Scale, and as this stuff came across from Canada, the Department of Fisheries, of all departments, wanted to charge an additional tax because they took that literally and thought they were scales to weigh humans or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, the pallet got held up for a little while they clarified that they were not scales to weigh humans. So something along those lines. So a little bit of bureaucratic nonsense that was good for a joke at least. So yeah, there's that. And yeah, it was a little bit more work than I thought it would be. So this was under the plastic. It's called a Gaylord box, which is like a giant quadruple layer open faced box that sits on the pallet, and then the forklift just drops it into the van. The problem is, once I get it back here, I don't really happen to have a forklift, so yeah, you can't just take it out of the van. Weighs hundreds of pounds. So yeah, I was kind of forced to brutalize the top of the box like that with this saw in order to get some of the heavier items out. So yeah, good thing tomorrow's recycling day, because I will break this box down and get rid of it. They're expensive boxes. Like if you want to buy a box like this, it's like $40, $60, $80 through Uline or whatever. So when I've needed them, I've just found them used, or recyclers are generally getting rid of them. So anyway, on to the next step. I will open everything up and we'll see what we have. All right, everything is set up and plugged into power. Look at all this craziness. This is going to be the lab equipment edition of Will It Power On? It's just off the charts crazy. Lots of knobs and buttons and stuff that looks like it's out of the space shuttle. It's just unreal. I had no idea any of this was out there. So anyway, yeah, to start out, we will look at the Agilent E3647A dual output power supply. I looked this guy up. It goes for like $1,000, and what it does is it serves as a power supply for basically anything. If you're smart enough to know how to use it, which I'm certainly not, it can basically be a power supply for whatever you need. So if you have piles of laptops that you don't have chargers for, you can set it appropriately and it'll power them on. So a very, very useful device if you have that kind of a need. And there we go. It is on. It seems to work. So a lot of this stuff measures signals and that sort of thing. So if you're not connecting something to it to measure or to do whatever with, then it's not going to be too exciting. So as interesting as all this equipment looks, this video might be a little dull because, I don't know how to do much more than turn things on, unfortunately. So anyway, here we have a couple Simpson analog multimeters, which are just Very cool looking things there. I think they take batteries. I haven't put batteries in them, but yeah, so very cool, very heavy duty, sort of industrial multimeters. Next, we have a Tascam 302, apparently professional grade dual tape deck. I have never seen a tape deck with so many buttons. Again, I don't know exactly what they do, but very sophisticated for a tape deck. I would have gone nuts over this like, you know, 20 years ago or whenever tapes were relevant back in the day. I duplicated a lot of tapes way back then, so this would have been very nice to have. And it's a rack model too. I mean, look at, it's got the rack mounts on the side. And I should say, the way you tell if a tape deck is high quality is when you press eject, the speed at which the thing opens. If the slower it opens, the higher quality you know it is. So this opens very slowly, so you know it's just super, super high quality. If it just kind of goes boop and opens, then you know you're dealing with crap. But if it opens slowly like that, you know they put in the time. So yeah, so there's that. So next, what do we have? This is a Tektronix dual beam storage oscilloscope. I don't know what that means exactly, but that's what it is. It has several modules that you can like pull out and put back in. Pretty crazy stuff. And the power is very odd. It's not a button. You have to pull this out. So you pull that out, and then you get some lights. And you don't see what's on the display, I think because there's nothing connected to it that would cause it to display anything. But if you press this button, you get that there. Very cool green display. And then if you turn some knobs and then you press it again, the thing moves. So again, no signal. You know, nothing is attached to this calibrator, so there's not going to be a lot to see, but it does appear to work. So that's really cool. So next, this is a really cool one. This is actually an HP time machine. I didn't know HP made a time machine, but what you do is you set this to how far back in time you want to go, and then there's a separate unit for coming back, and you set this to when you want to come back. So 2 units. If you only want to go back in time, you just use this unit, and then this unit you buy if you want to come back again. So very cool. It's so old that it doesn't have any indication that it's on, but I think it is on. And yeah, HP time machine. I demonstrate it, but it's hard to do with holding, you know, my phone in one hand. You kind of need 2 hands to go back in time with this. So I won't demonstrate that right now. So here we have, HP makes all kinds of things. Here's an HP oscilloscope. This guy, even turning these things on can be tricky. It's just hard to know where the power button is. It's crazy. This thing's like booting up. I can't imagine it has a hard drive. Must be a ROM or something. So, yeah, you can turn knobs and things go around. Again, nothing's plugged in, so it's not going to really do what it does. And then here we have an HP spectrum analyzer. Let's see, the power button's right there. This one has a big fan, you can hear the noise. Wow, look at that. Invalid setting. So like I said, I have a couple friends who are engineers who are buying all of this stuff, and they'll be super happy, but I do not know what I am doing. So I think this eventually will come around and display something. Interesting. Well, maybe we'll come back to that if it changes. So here we have an Agilent DC power supply. Actually, the other one, yeah, that was an Agilent too. I think this is sort of a lesser version. It's not as sophisticated looking. This appears to be a little bit messed up there. So yeah, another power supply. Very cool. Here we have a waveform analyzer, if I have that right. Yeah, very intimidating looking machine. There's the power button. This guy, I think, takes a second to warm up. Look at all those super intimidating buttons. You need an electrical engineering degree to know how to use this, really. And here we are. And I don't know how I feel about a device like this telling me that it's armed. It's a little strange. I guess it's the terminology associated with the thing. But yeah, it's armed. I guess one of these buttons launches the missiles or something. Yeah. Wow, it's like you can program it with these buttons. Goofy. Okay. So there we go. The Data Precision Waveform Analyzer. Next, we have another Tektronix. Tektronix makes just crazy stuff. I mean, look at this. This looks like the inside of a fighter jet. It's just bizarre. So yeah, anyway, this one has the pull button thing again, and then it's got a beam finder which should show something on the screen there, but it doesn't seem to be working. So yeah, I don't know about this guy. However, the power cable in the back is kind of loose, and that might explain it. And in addition, it has these devices are hardcore enough that they have fuses generally, so this might just have a blown fuse. It may be something as simple as that. So unfortunately, we can't really demonstrate this guy. So now we have two Keithley multimeters. So these are, I guess, digital multimeters. This one looks like looks like something in a fancy car from the 70s or something. But they do look like they're working, which is cool. And finally, last but not least, we have a General Radio Company 1900 Wave Analyzer. I can't imagine the General Radio Company is still around. Who knows? Who knows? It just doesn't sound like a name that a modern company would have. But this is a giant thing, and it's got a power button here. And look at that light. That is just crazy. That is just really crazy. Beyond that light, I mean, there's no screen. It's just that old that there's no screen. And there's really no way to know what's going on here, so I'm not sure how to test it, but the big light is on, so that's like literally like a light bulb in there that you probably have to replace periodically. Very strange stuff. But yeah, so that's it. I'm sorry I can't demonstrate this gear more thoroughly, but at least we know it pretty much powers on. Yeah, that one never came up with anything more interesting than that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I just thought it would be a different kind of video, and I'll talk to you soon. Hello, it's me again. So I thought, since it was a fairly short video, that I might as well do a little more on some recent acquisitions. And yeah, why not? So what is this? This is an Olivetti ProDest PC128. I assume that means 128K kilobytes of RAM. Old computer from the 80s. It's the first Italian computer I've ever had. It's a really crazy looking thing. I just love the aesthetics of this machine. It's not an MSX machine as far as I can tell. I think it's just its own thing. There were lots of computers out there in the 80s that were just sort of strange one-offs and unrelated to other computers of the day, and it probably just has basic 1.0 or something on it. What makes it interesting, obviously, is it has a tape deck in it. You might think that that wouldn't be functional in this day and age, but the funny thing is, there are devices you can get where you plug a fake tape in there, and then it connects to the bottom of your iPhone, and you then get an app. You download all of the software that ever existed for this thing, and through this app, you play the software into the computer through the tape drive. So this tape drive actually makes an old computer like this super functional, because you can just sit there with your phone and one after the other play games into an old computer like this. So very interesting. I haven't tried that yet. I don't have the special device yet, but it is something on the radar that I would like to do. So, moving on, what is this? This is a white unibody MacBook, and I should start by saying I'm doing a series. I make art with broken computers, and I'm doing a series called Broken Screen of the Day. I'm making 100 NFTs. As you've probably heard, the whole crypto thing, NFT thing, selling images on the internet craze that's going on right now. Well, I'm buying into that. So I'm doing a series of 100 broken screens in 100 days. I'm doing it on Hen, which is Hick and Nuke, I think it's called, which is a gallery that uses the Tezos blockchain. Tezos is a cryptocurrency that uses proof of stake rather than proof of work. So it does not have the energy problem you hear about with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum NFTs, if you want to mint one, creating one is called minting when you put it out there. Costs $100, $200 to mint a single image because it's just really energy inefficient right now. They're going to fix that. It's going to be fixed in a few months, hopefully. But Ethereum is very cost prohibitive, so I'm using Tezos on Hen. Which is very cheap, which is great. You can mint 100 images for almost nothing. But anyway, so I'm 20 images into my series of 100, going pretty well. I've sold most of them. I will put a link to my gallery in the notes if you want to see it. So anyway, that's a long explanation, and I haven't even gotten to what this machine is. What is this? This is a white unibody MacBook. And what you see going on here, I've got a slideshow of my art, and the reason it looks kind of funky like this is, imagine two pieces of glass and water between them, and then pull one of the layers of glass away, the water would start to congeal and recede, right? Well, that's what an LCD screen is. It's two pieces of glass, and then you have liquid crystals between the two panels, and liquid crystals are literally liquid. So what's going on here in a screen that's defective like this is there's actually a gap between the two pieces of glass, and the liquid crystals are just pulling back a little bit. You can literally sort of finger paint with the contours of this thing. And change the shape of it. Every time I power on this laptop, it looks completely different. It's really bizarre. But I just love it because it's almost like a beveled edge. It's almost like it takes an image you give it and turns it into like an ice sculpture with rounded edges. It just looks so cool. So yeah, I have this here, and I take pictures of what comes up when I like what I see, and one of these images eventually will be in my series, Broken Screen of the Day, in my gallery. So, long explanation for what's going on here, but that's what is going on here. So, what do we have next? We have Space Invaders. Look at that. This came with a MSX machine from Japan I recently bought. A couple games came with it. I just love Japanese stuff. I mean, the packaging is just so cool. It's always just so intricate and nice. Got the little Space Invaders manual. You want to know how to play it. And look at that. It's like it's brand new. It's like 40 something years old, I think, but it's just almost a brand new cartridge by appearance. Very, very cool. So yeah, Space Invaders. And that brings us to, oh, this, look at this. Wow. Okay, so where do I start? These are MSX machines, Japanese MSX machines. This is a Yamaha, and this is a Victor. Victor is JVC. JVC stands for Japan Victor Company. So in Japan, they call JVC Victor, or they did. These are the same machines. They're just branded by two different companies. MSX, if you're not aware, is a hardware-software standard released by Microsoft in the 80s. Mostly cartridge-based software, although they did eventually use tape and disk drives and all kinds of stuff like that. MSX was hugely popular, like in South America, Central America, Eastern Europe, Asia, but it never made it to the United States, really. It was really unknown in the United States, which is ironic because it was created by Microsoft. But yeah, it was multi-vendor, you know, so as you see here, Yamaha, JVC, all kinds of companies, Sony. The Sony machines are called Hitbit machines. But yeah, just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these old machines exist over a period of about 10 years. They're just crazy, wacky machines. This one is booted up. It's not too remarkable. Basic version 1.0. A lot of them have pre-installed software, games. Some of the ones I have from Cairo have like 20 games on them and productivity software and stuff like that. But yeah, MSX is just kind of a whole thing if you're into retro. Look into it. It's pretty cool. But yeah, that brings us to this monitor. What is this monitor? This is an MSX monitor. So that requires a little explanation. MSX machines all have RF modulators. They use RF modulators to put an image on your TV because back in the day, most people just had a TV. They didn't have a specific monitor. A lot of these have color composite out. Only half or so of them do. So I use color composite for most of these machines because that's the most convenient. RF modulator is just a pain to use these days. But some don't have color composite, so what do? Well, you have to use this funky, it's like a Commodore 64 cable, like an 8 or 9 pin DIN, which is a very specific version of that for MSX monitors. But there are very, 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 very few MSX monitors. I got this one just recently from Cairo, Egypt. Yes, Cairo, Egypt. I think this is Arabic, the brand or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's like a 12-inch monitor. It's been on eBay for like a year. I've been sort of tracking it for a year. They finally dropped the price, and I grabbed it. Luckily, it didn't get smashed. But, I mean, look at this. You can't really see how intense that green is in the video, I'm sure. But very, very cool old monitor. I just love the thing. But it's great because now I can test a whole pile of MSX machines that I couldn't even really try because I didn't want to mess with RF modulators, and they didn't have a color composite. So this is really great to have. And so what is this over here? Well, computers all over the world use different voltages and different plugs, as you may know. So the Egyptian monitor, which is probably a Japanese monitor, just, you know, marketed for the Middle East or something. But the Egyptian monitor is 220 volt and has this big plug. So these are transformers. They basically convert the voltage. I'm not an electrical guy, so I'm probably explaining this wrong, but they convert the voltage to, you know, 120 or whatever it is here, so that this device can be used in a US power system. So that's the monitor. And then these guys are Japanese, and in Japan they use 100 volts. And Japan is tricky because the plug looks the same as an American plug, and you can in fact plug it into the wall here and turn it on, and it'll work for a while. But because it's only supposed to have 100 and not 120, you'll eventually fry the thing. So this transformer on the bottom is converting the 120 to 100. I think I have that right, so that these guys can work without being damaged. Yeah, so a lot of fussiness going on in order to get this setup to work. But it's working, and it is pretty cool. There's actually a third model of these guys that I would love to get, but they're very rare and hard to find. I just recently got this one. The third one is like a cream color, and I think the keys are blue or some other variation, but you know, maybe someday I'll get one of those if I'm really lucky. So this came with some additional gizmos. This is a joypad. It's kind of like a precursor to a Nintendo controller or something. It almost looks new. A friend of mine suggested maybe this was, well, it is. He suggested maybe it was a new old product, something they came up with recently, but I don't know. It's Panasonic, and it's specifically says MSX, so just a little cool little joystick gizmo. And then there's this, made by Sony, that is really interesting. So this plugs into the computer, and then you plug a joystick into here, and then you turn this on, and then you set it to any given number. And I think it's probably like a rapid fire add-on, so you don't have to hold down the button that just fires like crazy. Something like that. Hard to say, but very interesting little thing. We got F1 Spirit, an MSX game that I have yet to try, but yeah, I'm going to put the phone down so I can plug in Space Invaders, and then you will get to see that. Just a second. Alright, so I got Space Invaders plugged into the cartridge slot, and now for the moment you've all been waiting for. I wonder if it registered the cartridge. Oh, yeah, there we go. Wow, look at the traces on the screen, the monochrome screen. It's just really cool to see. So yeah, there you are. This isn't a color monitor, although it probably is a color game, so you're not seeing color. And you're not getting sound because I haven't hooked up speakers. An old computer like this just has requires some external speakers. But yeah, there you have it. A Japanese MSX machine from the 80s being displayed on a monitor from the Middle East. And I will start now. I'll use the keys here. Not a great strategy to start from the middle, but you get the idea, and that is pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you next time.